Well, welcome back to my channel. Mariah Monetize here, and today we are talking about student loans. We're going to be talking about some talk that's been happening with student loans around the stimulus package. I'm going to be giving you some stats about student loans and what we can potentially expect moving forward with this new stimulus deal. So there's a possibility that the next stimulus bill might not have anything about student loans in there. We are probably going to have some more bills come after that. Senator Lamar Alexander, he's a Republican from Tennessee, he proposed a repayment plan. So if someone with student loan debt has no income at all, they would not need to make payments when the moratorium is up in September 30th. So there was already a delay when it came to repayment of student loans until September 30th. He believes that people should not have to pay more than 10% of their overall income. We've also heard some other talk when it comes to student loan debt and the forgiveness of it, or the structural change of how people will pay it back differently. We also heard an option to pay off federal student loan over 10 years or a 10% of their income above the amount of $19,400. And then after 20 years of paying on an undergraduate loan, the loan would be forgiven overall, no matter if the debt was paid in full or not. And then if you were paying on a student loan for 25 years on a graduate loan, then that would actually be forgiven. So just to give you some stats when it comes to student loan debt and how it makes a big impact on our country and the overall debt crisis. So there's 44.7 million Americans that have student loan debt. When you think of the United States, there's approximately 340 million people, so that's quite a big percentage. 1 in 5 adult Americans carry student loan debt, and that is a 2018 report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So overall, there's about $1.5 trillion in combined student debt. That came out in March of 2019. And that is actually double. The 1.5 trillion is double of what the student loan debt was 10 years ago. So quite a big significance over just a 10-year period of time. You know, numbers, the average debt for a medical school grad is about $196,000. An average debt for a dental school graduate, $285,000. An average debt for pharmacy school grads, $166,000. So 75% of borrowers owe less than $50,000, and also dropouts are a lot more likely to default on their student loan debt. So I was reading an article from Forbes magazine, and they were talking about when you basically give free money in the form of grants and scholarships, that people are then willing to pay more. So I'll give you an example. When I was in high school and I was applying to go to schools, I applied to the majority of private schools. My number one choice was St. Mary's College in Moraga, California. And I remember the amount to go there per year was approximately $50,000. And I remember after applying, I had gotten like this automatic scholarship for like $23,000. And for me, that just meant nothing, ultimately. I mean, it was kind of like I was either going to go there and pay, you know, no more than $5,000 to $10,000 a year if I was able to manage a way to do that, because I was applying for a lot of scholarships, or I really wasn't going to go at all. And my parents were not going to co-sign a loan for me, and at the time I was super upset. I am so incredibly grateful that they refused to co-sign on a loan for me, because I would have regretted that dramatically. I mean, looking back now, I am so glad I didn't go to school. I did go to college for 2 years, but I paid for it with scholarships at a local college versus going away and getting in crazy student loan debt, because after learning about the college system and what I personally want to do, and as a person that wants to be an entrepreneur and be in business, in my opinion, college is one of the biggest scams of all time. And I'm surprised that people haven't woken up to it a bit more and still believe that in order to be successful, you need a college degree. And we are seeing companies now like Google, I think even Facebook as well, that are not requiring a college degree. They're putting it more of a priority to have experience and to have skill sets than a college degree, because what we're starting to learn is that just because someone has a college degree, that doesn't necessarily correlate with their work ethic or the value that they can bring to a company. So an interesting note is that US colleges that don't accept federal loans have tuition roughly half of their similarly ranked peers, which is quite interesting. So there's also the component factor of the fact that the federal government is willing to give people loans for this amount of money to go to school. So of course colleges will in return charge that much. Now when you start getting into the weeds of how much the executives make at colleges and the presidents, the numbers are quite significant. And so I personally am just not a fan of the college system. I think that people can learn plenty on the internet of free information, paid courses, and I think that college just ultimately slows a person down. And when I talk about this, I mainly talk about in the direction of someone that wants to go in business or entrepreneurship. So that's all I have for you today. As always, go out there and create a portfolio that you love. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and if you'd be so willing to push the bell for notifications.